One thing about my channel that has confused me is when people say that they're shocked when I'm into darker things or alternative things because they look at my avatar and they think it's me wearing my Sunday best. That I look like I'm a pilgrim or something, that I'm some conservative person, when in actuality, this dress on my avatar is a dress that I own. And here are some pictures of some dresses that I do own, and there's something you're going to notice about all of them. They all have collars on them. Why do they all have collars on them? Because I'm inspired by Wednesday Addams. Ever since I had the capacity to be able to voice what I would like to have in my wardrobe, I have always wanted collared dresses because of Wednesday Addams. I adore Wednesday Addams, much like a lot of people in alternative scenes. This is because she represents a lot of different things for a lot of different people, and even beyond the alternative scene, she's a beloved character. However, with the new Netflix show, Wednesday, surrounding obviously the titular character, Wednesday Addams, there are some critiques of her character that I really don't find fair for her. The primary one, and the one that we'll be talking about today, is the criticism that she is a personification of the not like the other girls trope. What is that, and why is it inaccurate to Wednesday? The concept of a not like the other girls girl is a trope exhibited by certain female protagonists to set themselves apart from other girls. So what makes this kind of character a trope? Well, the other girl trope is based on the fact that a female character is unique in many different ways, and most commonly this amalgamates into them not liking feminine activities or female-coded things. Which is absolutely fine. You don't have to be a woman in order to enjoy what is stereotypically enjoyed by women. However, what makes it a trope is that the protagonist will do one of two things. The first thing that will generally happen is that the female protagonist will be communicated to be a not like the other girl by continuously exclaiming that they think typically female activities or interests are stupid and pointless, and push away themselves being involved in them as they deem them not worthwhile. They may even extend this to other women and think that other women are inherently stupid because they engage in typically feminine activities and interests. The other thing they might do is prop up their male-coded interests on a pedestal. Say, for example, they're interested in cars or mechanics or sports. They'll show that the girl is interested in them in a big way. A not like the other girls girl can't simply be casually interested in football. No, everything she wears must be a football team shirt. When you go into her room, there will be posters of footballers everywhere. Now, it's absolutely fine for girls and women to have interests that aren't stereotypically feminine. But the reason people have disdain for this trope is because it isn't that simple. The reason the trope exists is to put down women and girls for having these interests to begin with. For example, if you see a male character who is interested in typically feminine activities and interests, they are often bullied. They're outcasts called sissies and losers and even gay because having an interest in things that women stereotypically are interested in is bad. Whereas male-coded activities are seen to have more value and purpose and are worthwhile. And the trope's existence itself is more likely for a male audience. Often you'll see in rom-coms that the reason that the love interest is interested in a female protagonist is because they're not like the other girls. They haven't met any girls like her before. And therefore the existence of the trope isn't to celebrate diversity with women and their interests, it's to appease a male character and a male audience. So with explaining the trope out of the way, let's get into Wednesday herself. Wednesday Friday Addams is a fictional character created by American cartoonist Charles Addams and is the only daughter of the Addams family. The Addams Family first appeared in 1937 when Charles Addams was drawing for The New Yorker, a magazine. Originally, the characters had no names, but in the 1964 television adaptation of The Family, he gave her the name Wednesday after the nursery rhyme, "Wednesday's child is full of woe." Over the years, the Addams Family has been adapted into many different types of media, but the most notable portrayals of Wednesday include Lisa Loring in the 1964 to 1966 television series, Christina Ricci in the 1991 and 1993 original live-action films, Chloe Grace Moretz in the 2019 and 2021 animated films, and by Jenna Ortega in the most recent 2022 Netflix series. The Addams Family has also been adapted into Broadway musicals, but because I haven't seen any of these musicals, I won't be commenting on them. There are consistencies throughout each portrayal of Wednesday. Her most notable physical features are her pale skin, long black braided pigtails, and a black dress with a white collar. I don't believe her age is explicitly stated in the original cartoon strips, but she's just seen as a young girl. In this version, she is fascinated by death and the macabre and rarely smiles. In the original The Addams Family 1960s sitcom, it's stated in the pilot that she's 6 years old. She's significantly more sweet-natured and happier than her cartoon counterpart. However, her interest in the darker things persists. She guillotines her dolls, and she has painted pictures of trees with human heads, and really enjoys her favourite pet spider, Homer. The version of Wednesday shown in the Addams Family 1990s movies is a lot closer to the cartoon version. She's sadistic, has a dark personality, and is nihilistic at best. She consistently plays with her brother Pugsley by trying to harm or even kill him, and later in the second movie shows the same behaviours towards her new brother Pubert. The 1990s version of Wednesday Addams solidified what we all think of when we think of the character Wednesday Addams. Her deadpan sense of humour, her bluntness, her emotionless face, these are all attributes that are Wednesday. This version of Wednesday appears to be the default when going on to The Addams Family 2019 and its sequel, and the 2022 Netflix series Wednesday. Wednesday herself, throughout most of her adaptations, shows disinterest in things that other girls would like at least, and outright disgust at those things at most. So how is this not an example of the not like the other girls trope? Well, the Addamses as a whole are a satirical inversion of the ideal 20th century American family. They're an odd, wealthy, aristocratic clan who delight in the macabre and are seemingly unaware or unconcerned that other people find them bizarre or frightening. The Addams Family was initially conceptualized just less than 10 years after the Wall Street crash, a massive economic upheaval within the United States. The stock markets crashed, leaving a lot of people involved in them in poverty. People who were affluent beforehand became cripplingly poor overnight. In such a short space of time, some individuals were drained of generational wealth with nothing left to sustain themselves. And in this way, the Addamses reflect a satirical view of the upper class. Some people had a disdain for the upper class at the time who were still able to carry on and support themselves despite the Wall Street crash. And here are the Addamses, an aristocratic family getting on and doing terrible things from an objective point of view and not caring about it. They also exist to subvert expectations of the typical nuclear family, something that was expected at the time. Nowadays, divorce is somewhat expected in some areas of the world, but back then it was an expectation to be a normal, happy nuclear family. And the Addamses are anything but normal. Each member of the family in their own right is a subversion of expectations for roles at the time. The overplayed stereotype of the married couple that are sick of each other and bicker and resent each other is probably similar to the stereotype of married couples back in the 1930s. Morticia and Gomez outright subvert this expectation, being in love with each other as much as they were the first day they met. Going against and ignoring certain societal expectations at the time, such as overt PDA. They can't keep their hands off of each other. Wednesday herself is a subversion of the expectations of what a little girl should be. Sugar and spice and all things nice. That's what little girls are made of. Girls at the time were expected to be proper, prim and smiling, sit and look pretty. Wednesday won't smile. Little girls when playing were taught to do things that they would eventually emulate when they became grown. Good housewives that looked after their children, which is why little girls were given doll houses and doll babies to look after. Wednesday, on the other hand, would often set fire to some of her toys and decapitate her dolls. The point of Wednesday isn't to be a not like the other girls girl for no reason. It's meant to be satire and a play on the expectations of both families and young girls at the time. And it isn't necessarily that she hates feminine activities and girls that participate in feminine activities because she is rejecting femininity. It's because she's a nihilist who enjoys the concept of death. She thinks life is utterly pointless, and therefore it's not because the activities and the interests are feminine that she's rejecting them. She just doesn't think there's a point to anything at all. She finds masculine and gender-neutral activities also pointless. For example, any attempt in the 1993 movie to get Wednesday involved with any of the children regardless of their gender is futile because she finds no point in that. As I've stated before, she's a nihilist. The reason that she disengages from certain activities and interests isn't because it's a feminine activity or interest, or that it's an activity or interest that typically girls would like. It's simply because she finds most things futile and therefore is far more preoccupied in what happens after life, or musing on how pointless life itself is. You can see this in the 1993 movie when the counselors are trying their best to get Wednesday engaged in any activity, whether it be a masculine, feminine, or gender-neutral activity. So I've established that Wednesday doesn't simply reject things because they are feminine interests or activities, or because other girls enjoy those things. But also, the secondary aspect is, she isn't doing it to appease a love interest, or to appease a male audience. In most adaptations, she is a young girl, at youngest being 6, and in the more recent Netflix series, she starts as being 15 and then turning 16. I would hope that the goal wouldn't be to attract a male audience, because call the police in that case. She seems mostly confused when a love interest is brought along in these cases, and makes it clear to that love interest that she isn't going to change. She isn't going to become more interested in things that she would be expected to be interested in, because that's not who she is. And that's why I think Wednesday is not an example of the not like the other girls girl trope. It simply isn't why she was made, and I don't think any of her portrayals have indicated that. One thing I would like to talk about before ending this video is the reaction that some people from the goth or alternative scene have after observing the success of the Netflix 2022 show Wednesday, and therefore the resurgence in popularity of Wednesday Addams as a character. They're getting annoyed that the dance scene in Wednesday is now becoming some kind of TikTok trend. The two sentiments that I seem to glean from this is that, one, they feel upset that things that they enjoyed when they were young was frowned upon and they were often bullied for enjoying those things, and now that the Wednesday Addams show is a huge success, people are now picking up on certain things that they used to be harassed for, and it feels unfair. And the second is that the dance sequence that was in the scene in the Wednesday show is now being used as a TikTok dance trend. The first thing that I would like to say is that Wednesday Addams is an 83-year-old character who was conceptualized last millennium. She is a representation of, yes, what goth culture is, but also of many different things, from working class struggles to being a woman and femininity. She represents all different kinds of things. Her aesthetic and her behaviour is, yes, stereotypically gothic, but she doesn't just belong to the goth community. It really does suck that a lot of us, me included, I'm not a goth but I am part of the alternative scene, were bullied and looked down upon for enjoying the darker things and presenting in a certain way. But I think the resurgence in Wednesday Addams' popularity can only be a good thing. Of course, she's always been a pop culture figure, but with each new successful adaptation, she becomes much more popular and a part of the social consciousness. With each new popular adaptation, she has a resurgence in her popularity. And I can only find this to be a good thing, especially for the youth in the goth and alternative communities of today. They'll be more accepted, and what they enjoy with their interests and how they present will become more normalised. And that's a good thing. We don't want people to have to be bullied and harassed for their interests and appearance. And the same goes for the TikTok dance trend. Yes, Jenna Ortega was inspired by 80s goth club kids. That is what she said. She is given credit for it. Other people covering that does not take away from its origins. It just spreads it even more, and it becomes again part of the social consciousness. People appreciating and enjoying gothic things isn't bad. I just can't help but feel that being bitter about the things that have happened to you in the past, while awful and shouldn't have happened, doesn't help the youth of today when people are looking into entering the subculture. And we should look into the positives of Wednesday Addams and her popularity, and what it can mean for future generations of goths and alternative kids. That's all I have to say for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!